Hey friends, my name is Jordan Kelly and we are from Working Aussies Homestead, and today we're working on a very special project that really leaves a legacy here on our small property, even if we don't stay here for the rest of our lives. If you guys are familiar with our property at all or have watched any of our previous YouTube videos, you know that one of the best aspects of our property is how flat it is. However, one of the bad aspects of our property is how flat and treeless it is. So we do have some trees on our property. We've got a few red maples on our property. Those are the ones I'm standing in the shade of right now. We've got some privets, we've got some apple trees, we have one pear tree, and then we also have a lot of water oak trees, and we do have one pecan tree as well. So while we do have those trees, those are really on the outskirts of our property, and we have absolutely nothing in the middle here. Now, we have worked really hard on rotational grazing. However, because this spot is so flat and there's no trees, it also takes much longer for the grass to grow back because it does not have the same amount of shade as other parts of our property. What I mean by that is it gets very hot and humid in the summers here, and so it's very hard to keep things nice and green in this center spot. Now, something that we've been wanting to do is add more trees to our property and add on more of an orchard. We initially talked about doing it on this side of the property, back behind where the barn is, and we might still put some trees back there, but we're super excited. After talking with Permaculture, Josh went out to visit Billy and William and talk to them about adding a bit more of the permaculture practices into our homestead. They advised, looking at our property, that we add some lines of trees into our clear space here. So we called Stark Bros several weeks ago. We ordered some trees, and today we are going to get started on planting them. So I'm your camera woman today. Josh will be doing all of the digging and putting them in the ground, but let's go get started. And while I'm out here, I do just want to add, if you are interested in getting some sort of consultation on your homestead about adding in more permaculture practices, please feel free to reach out to Permaculture. William has been going around the country and actually doing consultations for people. So go ahead, and we'll leave a link down below where you can reach them. But definitely something to look into. Those guys know what they're talking about, and we loved the chance of getting to meet them earlier this year. We look forward to seeing them again soon, but let's go on with this different type of build. Let's go on with this dig. We do have a couple supervisors today. What you think, girls? You gonna help us plant some trees? No? You're just gonna lay in the shade? Be bums? Some supervisors you are. You must get paid well. All right, what you doing, Mr. Kelly?
I'm getting the compost all wet, so that way it's nice and soaked and saturated by the time we get the hole dug. So when we fill it back up, it's not dry and it doesn't soak all the water out of the roots.
Now, are we working with bare-rooted trees?
Well, we're working with the Stark's potted trees. I think there's a difference. So I think there's a difference between the potted and the bare root, but basically we're putting bare-rooted trees into the ground. So
perfect. We do have a couple stakes in the ground. We've got one out here, one over here, and then one there, and that's where we are planting our first 3 trees. What are the first 3 we're going to plant?
I don't know, that's what I was gonna ask you.
You're gonna ask me?
Yeah.
I feel like I would want the
I feel like I want the nut trees over on this side.
yeah, I would want the fruit trees closer to the house.
Okay.
If we're thinking about it from like a permaculture
So
standpoint too.
We want, let's do that's an early season crop, or those are early season trees. What are
Well,
you
we'll
pointing
have
at?
to put at least where you're pointing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We'll want to at least put one of the Like the early apple over here.
Okay, so we're gonna do an almond, right? And then the early one was the Honeycrisp.
Mm-hmm.
Remind me.
Here's all of the trees in our rows, starting with an apple in the top right corner, and our sourwood in the middle, then the almond, then another apple tree, another sourwood and an almond, then another apple, then the black locust, and then another apple, 2 mystery trees, and then another black locust in the middle.
We just got the first almond in. Looks good. We got the apple down there. It's looking good too. And Miss Jordan is going ahead and purchasing our nitrogen fixers.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when we tried to order them the first time with these, they were not available. So we're going to go ahead and order those and get those on the way, so that way we don't have as much time between planting, so that way hopefully there won't be any issues. But it looks like we're going to be going on to the second row. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. What did we say we were planting there? An apple and an almond? Okay, so let's see which ones I pick out for over here.
While Josh digs the holes for the next couple of trees, I wanted to talk about why we picked the varieties of trees that we did and their purpose. So, to start off, I'll talk about our nitrogen fixing trees. Now, this was something that, if you've watched any of our previous videos, the very first thing we did was actually take a soil sample and send it in to be evaluated. So, the biggest thing on our evaluation was that we were lacking a lot of nitrogen. So, our first step was to actually rotational graze our chickens, because chicken manure is actually a great source of nitrogen, and that would naturally add in some extra nitrogen. Now, the only problem with that is that it's a very hot manure, so it will kill everything that it sets on, and then you have to at least let the land rest before you either plant anything else or run the chickens over that area again, just because it is such a hot manure that it will stay present with that acidity on it. So the next step for us is actually adding in some nitrogen fixing trees. Now, this was something that Josh had talked to Billy at Permapastures about, Billy and William both, about the different options for nitrogen fixing trees. Now, some of them are commonly known as an invasive species, especially in the state of North Carolina. However, we will only be planting 2 of each of the nitrogen fixing varieties. So for us, it's not a huge issue. Plus, they are trees that the goats and pigs can actually eat. So if they do get a little invasive, we can definitely help clean things up by rotating our animals around the trees. So now to go over the 2 types of trees that we picked. So we picked a black locust and we picked a sourwood. And the sourwood in the fall turns into this beautiful bright red tree. So we're super excited to add those to the front yard. We do have a couple red maples on the property, and they do turn this beautiful orange and yellow and red in the fall. But I'm excited to add the sourwood. I'm also excited to add the black locust trees because they have these beautiful flowers on them. So those are our 2 nitrogen fixing trees. So in our 4 rows that we are planting, the middle tree is actually going to be the nitrogen fixture. So we have 3 trees in each row, and the middle tree is going to be the nitrogen fixer. So 2 sourwood and then 2 black locusts. And then we have our apple trees and our almond trees, and then we've also decided that we need to pick out 2 other sort of fruit trees. Now initially we were thinking about picking out another pecan tree, pecan, tomatoes, however you pronounce it. Here Josh and I pronounce them pecans. So picking out another pecan tree. The only problem was when we went to order our trees, we don't know what variety we already have on the property, and because they are trees that pollinate each other, we really wanted to pick one that would be compatible with the variety we already have. And since we don't know the variety, we decided to just skip on getting one of those this time. Another variety that we looked at adding was actually a black walnut. Now, the only problem with that is black walnuts will actually poison and kill anything that is around them so that they don't have to fight for any resources. So they can have a big effect on any fruit or nut trees, other nut trees that they're around. So we opted not to do a black walnut for that reason. Another thing, we could have picked a lot of other fruit trees. However, Josh and I are kind of particular about the fruit that we eat. So we don't eat a lot of oranges, we don't eat a lot of peaches, definitely not peaches for Josh. And so that's an important thing to look at when you're picking out different trees or different varieties of trees and bushes for your homestead, is really think about what you eat and what your family eats. And you know, peaches are nice. Peaches can be preserved in a lot of different ways. However, we aren't huge fans of peaches, so we're gonna pass on peaches for this property. Who knows, we might have a peach tree in the future at another property because someone in our family loves peaches, but for us, it didn't make sense for us to go ahead and plant a peach tree if we're not gonna enjoy the fruit of it. So we did pick several different varieties of apple trees, including I believe one of them is a Honeycrisp apple, which I actually love that variety anyways from the store. So I'm very excited about that type of tree. We also got, I believe, a Golden Delicious and a couple other great varieties that we are excited about. Because the 2 apple trees we have on the property are actually crabapple trees, so they don't produce very big fruit, and the trees we have are kind of sick. They've never been pruned, and you can tell that they had some serious bug infestations at some point in time. So while running the animals around them has been beneficial to the soil and kind of rejuvenated them a little bit, they still are not in good health. And the apples and the leaves still will have a lot of spots on them. With that said, we're very excited to have some trees on the property that are going to produce fruit that we can actually consume and not just give to the animals. We're very excited about the almonds as well. Almonds are something that Josh really loves, and you know, I'm a big lover of almonds too. currently I have a sensitivity to them, but who knows? It might just be how they're produced. But we're gonna give it a try. We're gonna try some almonds, and I'm excited for the planting of these trees. I think it'll be a great addition to this property. Even if we don't stay here forever and we do end up selling in a couple years, I think it'll be a great way for us to go ahead and invest back into this property and add some more value to it. So, because that was something that we were super excited, especially on the homesteading end of looking at this property, was that it already had a nut tree and some fruit trees on it. So, and really the only thing that this property is missing is a natural water source. However, the well is a great addition because the house is actually hooked up to the city water. So, but let me stop talking your ear off. Let's get back to planting these trees.
Let's go over how we're doing this process really fast. I'm digging my hole first and getting that in place, and then I am going to put a layer of the compost that we have. If you're doing it without compost, what you need to do is when you dig the hole, you put your topsoil in first, so that way that most nutrient dense stuff is on the bottom, and then you're gonna find your graft. So on this one, if you can see, the graft is right here. So I really don't want anything higher than what the soil is already at. So you're going to fill up the bottom of your hole so that way you're just level with the soil that you're putting back here. And then you're going to put your tree in there, making sure not to overdo it on that graft. And then after that, we're going to loosen up our root system so that way they can get free once they are in there. And then we're just going to do layers like we've been doing of compost, topsoil, compost, topsoil. And then for myself, what I've been doing is that very last layer, once I've tampened down all of that with my foot to get all the air out of there, I've been putting a layer of wood chips on there to keep it nice and moist. Since we do have sandy soil, we don't want it to dry out and then dry our trees out. And then, you know, that's what, $500 down the drain because we didn't check on that. So once we get everything in, then we'll go ahead and water it all in really, really good, and we should be good to go. So we're gonna finish getting this tree in here. I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so you can see a nice layer of wood chips on top. The tree is nice and straight with the tree down there. And we've layered this in, and we'll just smooth the rest of this out. No big deal of it left over. But there's our hardy almond.
They're all planted?
All planted, every single one of them. 2 apples, 2 almonds, and 2 more apples. All the ones that we have anyways.
Yeah.
We didn't put the elderberries in because I think they're going to be a little bit bigger than we had planned. So they may not go where we had originally talked. I think we're going to put them somewhere over there.
Yeah, that'll be good. So, well, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to this video of us planting our future orchard here at Working Aussies Homestead.
Hopefully you learned something.
We'll see. And like I said, if you guys are interested in getting a permaculture homestead consultation, go check out Permaculture. Reach out to Billy or William or both of them. So,
and if you want trees,
Stark Bros.
Stark Bros.
So we'll have some links down in the description for you guys, as well as some of the links for the 2 shirts we're wearing today. So Josh over here representing Smith Market in Hutchinson, Kansas, and I've got Play for Platinum, which is a border collie breeder who lost some dogs in a fire, unfortunately. So, but we'll have some links in the description for you guys. Thanks again so much for watching, and as always,
see you in the next video.
Bye, guys.